everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 605 to 608 for the 21st to the 24th of October for the Ukraine war and special military operation in Ukraine. So, yeah, again, 4 days SITREP. Yeah, it was a pain to map this. Anyway, there was a attack on the Staro-Konstantinov air base over here in this Kreminna region. So this air base was struck. It was unknown what kind of strike was this. Probably missile strike. The Russian Defense Ministry say that an aircraft was destroyed over there. So it was a little bit far, if you ask me. And over the past 4 days, there was a lot of aircraft for the Ukrainian side getting shot down. And so on the 21st, the Russian Defense Ministry reported one Sukhoi 24, two MiG-29, and one Mi-8 that was shot down. Mi-8 is a helicopter. And then following days, there was a Sukhoi 24 shot down over Odessa, MiG-29 shot down over Kanatovo, and a MiG-29 shot down over Blahoddatny, and a L-39 combat training jet shot down over Olenivka in Dnipro, north of Dnipro. And there was also a MiG-29 shot down over Lozove, a MiG-29 shot down over Pokrov, a MiG-29 shot down over Shuhuiv. And this is crazy because there's a lot of MiG-29 getting shot down. I'm not sure why was there such a huge number. Of course, if you are pro-Ukrainian and you don't trust the Russian Defense Ministry, you can totally ignore this piece of information. But it's just that if we are to trust this information, the air defense systems of the Russians suddenly have become hyper effective at shooting down all these Ukrainian jets. I'm not sure if it's because of the doctrinal change on the Ukrainian side, calling the MiG-29 to fly much higher to launch certain type of missiles, or could it be that the Russian air defense has become way more stronger in this region here, or they found a way to target lower flying jets from a huge distance. It's unclear currently, so it's something to note. Or it could be the case where S-400s are now being deployed. Previously there was only S-300s. Maybe, I'm not sure. So this is something to note. This is something very, very unusual. So this is already come after, we have already Sukhoi 25 shot down over Dnipro on the 19th of October with air defense, and and I already commented that this was a little far and quite unusual. So this is something to note. Okay, and then we move on to the southern front. Over at this Kherson region, the Ukrainian beachhead continues to exist over in the southern part of Kherson. And so we go from the west to the east, left to the right. Sometimes I get confused between east and west because usually based on what I look at, my if this is north, this is my east. Okay, forget it, never mind. So anyway, the Ukrainian forces from Dachi area, so previously the Ukrainian forces have this salient here. They actually progressed south while everything was in a mess because of the Ukrainian landing on the eastern part of this region, and they managed to have another beachhead south of the Konka River just off Oleshki. So this is Oleshki, this city here. And the Ukrainians have now entrenched themselves in the northern outskirts of Oleshki. So Ukrainians may get, if I'm not wrong, they're actually sending more reinforcement at this moment, and they might actually launch an attack into Oleshki itself. So we're not sure, but we shall continue to see how this goes. So this is the Dachi region. Further east, over at the Pridniprovsky region, the Ukrainian forces have been pushed out of Pishinivka and Poima, and in fact, according to the pro-Russian sources, they say that they have been pushed north of the Konka River. They have been pushed out of this region with the Russians retook Pishinivka and Poima in a counter-attack, and they pushed them all the way up to north of the Konka River. However, the situation further east is not as rosy. There is Ukrainian forces being geolocated at this position just north of Stepny, further confirming that the Ukrainian forces have positions over in the north of Stepney. So there is definitely still a situation needed for the Russians to launch attack from Stepney towards this beachhead in the north of this region here. And further east, there's another beachhead that was the fighting around Krinky or Krinky. The situation at Krinky is the Ukrainians are attacking. No, they actually push out 1 kilometer south of Krinky. However, the Russians now are conducting a counterattack from the east and the west. And after this east and the west happens on the 21st. And then the Ukrainians are trying to push out, and by the current information, the latest information from the 23rd to the 24th, the Russians have penetrated much deeper, and fighting is in the middle of Krinky. The Ukrainian forces still holding some positions within Krinky, but they are getting squeezed by the Russian forces around this area here. So it might be soon that the Ukrainian forces will have to withdraw out of Krinky towards to the islands to the north. But currently the situation is still not confirmed just yet that the Ukrainians will give up, or will they just send more reinforcement into this area here. So that's all from the Kherson Front. Over to the Zaporizhzhia Front, and over at the Zaporizhzhia Front, at the Orikhiv sector, the Ukrainians' Melitopol offensive or counter-offensive is still ongoing, and they also acknowledge as such. Just that the front line don't really change. The front line pretty much is the same. Most of the fighting, you see, 22nd to 24th fighting around most probably west of Robotine, and they are attacking from 22nd and 24th at Verbove. However, if you look at the Russians, it's 22nd to 23rd, 22nd, 24th. So the situation is very sporadic. It doesn't it no longer feels like a very constant offensive. It's getting more and more sporadic. The intensity is dropping. They are still trying, definitely, because we have a lot of geolocation of Ukrainian forces over this region here, from APV to Leopard tanks and everything, but the front line hardly changes. It's very very minute, the changes in the front line, and the Ukrainian forces are trying to push out, most likely in this area here, given the number of geolocation. They are fighting in the western part of Robotine. Russian forces are also counter-attacking in this area here. As a result, the front line don't really change much. There was some information from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 23rd saying that they have some success south of Robotine, and there is geolocation of Leopard tank that was destroyed on the 21st. Over here does suggest that there is actually some activities in the south of Robotine. So pretty much until we are talking about maybe a month or more or two, that we are still fighting in this area here, from from late August, which is more or less the around the time when I started to update the map in this format where I record the previous dates. The Ukrainians have not really get out of Robotine for all this while. So, and the Russians are also doing some push out of Novoprokopivka, with fighting from 23rd to 24th. The Russians trying to push out, but yeah, the front line still does not really change much. The Ukrainians are trying their best to plug the holes to fight the best that they could. The location of Ukrainian forces over at this area here, at a vehicle, I believe, got struck by a Russian drone, which thus shows that the Ukrainians still do not really have full security, when they try to move south of this road towards Robotine. And there is some rumors of fighting reported in the area of Kopani on the 24th of October, according to Ryba. So most likely the Ukrainians have tried to restart a battle from the north of Kopani to accompany their main offensive over at the western part of Robotine. Over the situation at Verbove, Verbove is actually a bit more numb, I would say. The Ukrainians are attacking 22nd and 24th. The Russians are counter-attacking on 22nd, 24th. So basically, the battles here is actually not really fighting. They are actually just clashing I don't think there is some kind of active offensive per se. They are clashing because both dates are actually the same. So the front line here is most likely, going to be stagnant. As far as I can tell, as far as I can imagine, the Ukrainians are actually trying to entrench themselves at Robotine, create a buffer zone around Robotine, and they already have this buffer zone on this eastern part of Robotine. So the aim is actually to capture this before they go south. So this is actually an elephant, just saying. And so there is geolocation of Russian forces over this area here. It's a T-72 that was destroyed by a kamikaze drone in the southwestern part of Verbove. So over here, but this actually also shows the Russians are actually around this area. The Ukrainians have been pushed back a little bit over the past month. So situation over at this Orikhiv sector is actually pretty stagnant. And what is more interesting to me is actually a battle, a Russian offensive towards Mala Tomashka. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, the Russians were attacking southeast of Mala Tomashka. So this is Mala Tomashka, and the Russians are attacking from the southeast. And I'm not sure how serious is this offensive over here towards Mala Tomashka. We shall continue to monitor. The last time we saw something like this was on the 7th of October. And you can see there was always some sporadic attack from the Russian side. However, this is the first time over the past 2 months that we are seeing a continuous attack in this area here from the 23rd to the 24th. Previously, you can see it's always just a one-day, disturbance, from the Russian side. So we shall continue to monitor to see if this actually end up to be anything serious. Tactically speaking, in this area here, it is very tricky for the Ukrainians because the main force is actually pushing in this area here while they are holding defense line in this area here. They are pushing in this area. If the Russians are making a serious push all the way in this area here, then they will have to refocus some of their effort and resources to hold the line in this area here. And if this push is actually very serious, so this will actually handicap their offensive in this western part of Robotine. So this is actually the significance, I would believe, of the Orikhiv sector. We move on over to the Hulyaipole sector. At the Hulyaipole sector, there is some fighting being reported at Melanivka on the 22nd of October. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they launched some attack against the Ukrainians. But this is a one-off, so it's probably just some raids or some probing to distract the Ukrainians. Over at the Velyka Novosilka sector, in the Velyka Novosilka sector, the most significant situation is actually around Prione. There is geolocation of Russian forces over this position on the 23rd, showing that they are actually still holding this line. They are still pushing in this area here, and we have reports from the 19th to the 22nd of the Russians attacking in the north of Prione. The Ukrainians then were attacking on the 21st, but it's probably just a failed attempt, with the Russians mainly making the push in the north, trying to hold this northern area of Prione. Then we have information coming from Ryba saying that the Ukrainians are actually pushing for some high ground around this area here between Staromayorsky and Prione, with fighting reported west of Staromayorsky on the 21st and then northeast of Prione on the 23rd. So the Ukrainians are trying to make this push while the Russians are pushing out from Prione. And there is also reports of Russians attacking at Staromayorsky and Uruzhaine. For the Staromayorsky is on the 23rd to the 24th, 21st, 23rd, 24th. So only the 22nd, there was no reports about it. Probably they are also attacking on the 22nd. So there's a continuous attack by the Russians, as per reported by the Ukrainian and the Russian Defense Ministry at the area of Staromayorsky, with the Russians making this attack or this push. There is no clear signs of any changes in terms of the front line. So let's wait and see how this goes. Same thing, something similar also happening at Uruzani, except that there's only fighting on the 23rd, only one day. And the geolocation of Ukrainian forces over in the southern part of Staromayorsky do shows that the front line have not really changed despite all these attacks from the Russians. So the Ukrainians are holding the line pretty well. This geolocation is on the 21st. So that's all from the Velyka Novosilka sector. We move into the Donetsk Front. So this is Donetsk city. This is Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, we over at the Zalita Neva region, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry kept reporting that there is a lot of fighting around this area here. All the informations, almost all the information coming from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, except on the 22nd, the Russians say they are attacking in the Novodonetsk region, and on the 23rd on the Novomayorsky region. Otherwise, 21st, 22nd, 24th, 21st, 22nd, 24th. So basically, 21st to 24th, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry has been reporting that the Russians are actually making moves in this area here, and it looks to be a pretty big offensive in this area here. We do not know if there's any frontline changes because the OSIN do not report on this. We only see this information coming from the Ukrainians and the Russian Defense Ministry. We shall continue to wait. I'm quite sure if there is significant actions and information, we shall see this from the OSIN like Ryba or Deep State UA updating their map to show the Russian advance in this area here. The Russians are also continuing their attack over at Voleda in the area of Mikhailsky and towards Vodian. This push continues. Maybe zoom in a bit easier. The Russians are continuing to push in this way in the area of Mikhailsky and towards Vodian. This continues to be the case. For Voleda is actually from 21st to 24th. Mikhailsky was reported on the 24th, and towards Vodian was reported on the 21st. So if that's the case, then we are looking at some tactical operation north of Mikhailsky, whereas the main push is actually towards Voleda in this area here. But we're not sure what is it like in the situation over here. As usual, this is only reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry and the Russian Defense Ministry. Yeah, actually also only by the Russian Defense Ministry. Actually, I didn't. None of the information is from the Ukrainians. Only the Russian Defense Ministry are reporting this, and based on the information, it looks like it's a lot like fire missions. They have units supported by helicopters and artillery, or by airstrikes. So let's see how this goes. If anything significant come out from this area here. There is a rare information about fighting near Solotke, according to the Russian Defense Ministry on the 22nd. Probably nothing to care about. And then there was another major front line in this area here, where there is fighting reported towards Krasnohorivka, in Marinka, towards Boyeda, and towards Novomihailivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. 22nd to 24th at Novomihailivka, Ukrainian Defense Ministry and Russian Defense Ministry reported on one of the days. Boyeda was reported 21st to 24th, so this seems quite serious. Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that. Marinka, as usual, Ukrainian Defense Ministry on all 4 days, and Krasnohorivka only on 1 day on the 21st. So, given this is the extent, it looks like the Russians are making a very serious push in this area here. And then there is also this push over at Novomihailivka. Yeah, so the intensity of the Russian offensive across all the front lines is pretty intense. And then we go into the Avdiivka Front. This is the Avdiivka Front. At the Avdiivka Front, over at the Povomaysky region, there is the Russians pushing at Novosilka, around Vodian at Povomaysky. The Ukrainians are counter-attacking only on the 24th, whereas most of the time is actually the Russians attacking. Novosilka was on the 22nd, 24th. Vodian was on the 21st, and then the Povomaysky was on the 21st to 24th. The Ukrainians were counter-attacking on the 24th. So situation is pretty tense in this area here. Geolocation of Russian forces over this position actually increased the Russians front line. Moving means showing progress, whilst there is still Ukrainians geolocated within Pervomaiske, showing that the Ukrainians are still within the village, and fighting continues in this area here. There is a constant push around the Zhevene region. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry kept reporting fighting near Tonenke from the 21st to the 23rd, and Zhevene on the 23rd to the 24th, with Ryba reporting about the 23rd. So the Russians are still continuing to make attacks in this direction, putting pressure on the Tonenke and Zhevene. So let's see how this goes. There is some frontline changes based on Deep State UA's mapping. The Russians are actually pretty close to the two villages. The closest to Zhevene was around 1 kilometer, and the distance to Tonenke is around 1.5. So situation continues to develop in this area here, with the Russians still have no signs of stopping. There is some fighting reported at Opitny on the 22nd. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry said that the Russians attacked at Opitny. However, on the 24th, Ryba said that the Ukrainians counterattacked. So the Russians tried to push out, but it was in vain, I guess. And then the Ukrainians pushed back in this area here. Fighting continues to be in the south of Avdiivka from the 21st to the 24th. All reports come from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, with the Russians continue to make attacks in this area here. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces southeast of Avdiivka by military summary, showing that the Ukrainians still have this position around here. In the northern flank of the Avdiivka front, this is looking like a rhino. So this is the years, and then we have the rhino. Yeah. So this is the rhino. So anyway, so at this rhino front, there is some weird geolocations. The Russians is geolocated to have planted a flag here that was destroyed by FPV drone, and then there was geolocation of Ukrainian forces over at this position. However, and this geolocation is actually pretty recent, on the 24th of October. However, Deep State UA insisted that this volcano, this slag heap, waste heap, or terracon, has been entirely captured by the Russian forces. The Russians have captured this entire area, and they're actually pushing the railway line in this region where the Ukrainians have fall back into. So I have to map it based on Deep State UA's insistence, because maybe this geolocation might be actually a previous video from previous dates where the Ukrainians still had position over there. There was fighting around this area on the 21st, but by the 24th, the fighting is actually outside of the waste heap, and the Ukrainians are trying to counterattack on the 24th over the past day, trying to attack back this position. But it's actually pretty hard because this is a high ground. The Russians are holding positions in the high position, so this is actually a pretty hard place to actually attack. Which is why the Russians, in their initial attack, was a tank rush. This tank rush made it basically overwhelms the Ukrainian forces over at this volcano region, which allows the Russians to capture it. This is the reason for the tank rush, because if not, the Russians probably would not be able to capture this position without overwhelming firepower. So there is geolocation of Russian forces over this position, just northwest of the volcano, which means that the Russians are also making a push in this area here, and they're trying to straighten the line across the entire railway line. And further up north, we have fighting reported on the eastern part of Stepove already. Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported about fighting near Stepove. Deep State UA is a bit slow in their report in terms of the updating to this area here. They say that the fighting is on the east of Stepove only on the 23rd. Previously, they said the fighting was actually more towards at Krasnohorivka. However, the Russians have not really taken all of the railway line because of the geolocation on the 23rd, showing that the Ukrainians have a tank attack in this area here. So the Ukrainians actually still have pretty strong positions around Stepove region. Further up north, over at the north of Krasnohorivka, there is geolocation of Russian forces by Kreminna Front at this position, which means the Russians have already overrun this railway line north of Krasnohorivka, and this actually does corroborate the claims from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry about fighting near Kreminna from the 21st to the 23rd. However, Kreminna is actually this far, so it's unlikely that the Russians are in this area here. So it's probably the Ukrainian Defense Ministry just don't want to use the word Novosilka. They just want to use the word Kreminna and to represent the Russian push in this direction over here. So that's all from the Avdiivka Front. We move on into the Bakhmut Front. So this is the Bakhmut Front. Bakhmut Front is this area here, and this is Bakhmut City, the famous Bakhmut City. In the south, there is a weird report from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 22nd of October saying that there is fighting near Druzhba. So unlikely to be near Druzhba because the Russians are actually still being pinned back around this line here. So there's no indication that the Russians have counterattacked successfully. So we shall continue to wait and see. This is a question mark at this moment. The Russians are actually, I would say, have the initiative in the southern of Bakhmut, despite the Ukrainians saying that this is their offensive. This, in fact, in their report, they call it assault. The Ukrainians are only reported to have attacked on the 22nd and 23rd on around Klishevka region. The rest, in fact, is all Russian. Everything is Russian. Russians are attacking at Kupyansk, at Avdiivka, at Klishevka region, and also towards Ivanivsky. And the initiative is entirely on the Russian side, despite this supposed to be Ukrainian offensive. So, Kupyansk is on the 21st to the 24th, and then Avdiivka is from 21st to 24th as well at the same time. However, there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces at this position, which does show that the Ukrainians in their previous offensive have indeed achieved a further, a deeper front line, maybe even up to here. So the Russians are counterattacking at Avdiivka to recapture this area here. Further up north, the Russians attack at Klishevka is on the 23rd to 24th. This comes after the Ukrainians 22nd, 23rd. So the Ukrainians, after their attacks, have fated the Russians' counterattack towards Klishevka. And most significant is actually this report about the fighting towards Ivanivsky. According to Deep State UA, they say that the Russians are having some partial success along the highway towards Ivanivsky, and they say that the Russians are pushing. And this is then acknowledged by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry about the fighting, near Ivanivsky. You can see Ivanivsky over here, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 22nd. So, however, the attack seems to have stopped because the fighting is only reported 21st to 22nd. We didn't see any reports on the 23rd or 24th. So this is just one of the more interesting ones. Over in the northern flank, just below the cat, this is the cat. There is fighting reported at Kromove. This Kromove offensive by the Russians have been ongoing since the 18th. So this continues all the way on to the 23rd. Information coming from the Ukrainian side, and the latest say by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, by Deep State UA, say that the fighting coming from the northeast of Kromove. So the fighting may actually not from the city, but actually coming from this direction. The Russians are pushing from this direction towards Kromove, and the Ukrainians are actually holding the line at Kromove in this area here. And the fighting also happens around the Bakhmut region. The Ukrainians are reportedly attacking on the 23rd. By the 24th, the Russians counterattack. So the Ukrainians are attacking, and then they failed. The Russians counterattack. Sorry, I actually paused the recording a bit because my nose hair is so itchy. I don't know, when I talk, the nose hair keeps vibrating. Then it's like so itchy. Donetsk is another one, very interesting one. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry kept saying that the Russians are attacking in Donetsk region from 21st to the 24th. And then the Russian Defense Ministry said on the 22nd, 23rd, the Ukrainians counterattack. So, which means the Russians are actually making most of this push probably around this area here with some limited counterattack by the Ukrainians. I'm not sure about how far this will go. Usually the reports from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry don't really result in any changes in the front line. Maybe the cat is hungry, so the cat want to eat Donetsk. And And further up, all the way to the northern edge of the Bakhmut Front, we have fighting reported at Vasyukivka. We haven't seen fighting at Vasyukivka since forever. So on the 21st, there was this reports of the Russians attacking Vasyukivka on the 20th by the Russian Defense Ministry, Ukrainian Defense Ministry, Deep State UA, all reported about this, but it's just a one-day thing. So it's just one day, so nothing significant, I would say. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces do show that the Ukrainians are still at Vasyukivka. So and we move on into the Siversk Front. This is Siversk Front. This is the Siversk Front. At the Siversk Front, we have some fighting being reported at Soledar on the 23rd. Near Soledar, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, I would say just ignore it. That's not very clear. And however, we do have reports of Russians attacking south of Rozdolivka. But it's also one off. So this is one off on the 21st. This is one off on the 21st. So maybe there was this attempt to scare the Ukrainians in this area here to reinforce the line here so that the Russians can attack elsewhere. Not sure. So this is just some tactical pressure, I guess. There is also another attack over at below Orikhiv. Again, this is also on the 21st. This is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. The Russian push here, but only one day, again on the 21st. We move on into the Kreminna Front. So this is Kreminna, and this is Kreminna Front. So at the Kreminna Front, within the Serebrenski Forestry and near Orikhiv, we have reports of Ukrainians attacking from the 22nd to the 23rd. The Ukrainians were attacking in this area here. There is Russians attack on the 21st. And then main of the Ukrainian push is actually near Dibrova. So the main push is actually around this area here. Russians did counterattack here. There's some sporadic attack around this area here. So so this doesn't really change much. There is also fighting reported at Torske, with Ukrainians pushing at Torske as well. I think on 2 days. Only on one day on the 22nd. So the situation here, as usual, the Ukrainians seems to be pushing a lot, but we don't really see the result, or we don't really see much of the frontline changes just yet. There is also a Ukrainian pushing from Yampolivka on the 21st and 24th, and then so in this area here. So previously we have also said about the fighting here. So not much to talk about. And then over. There is some geolocations of Ukrainian forces at this position, Russians over at this position. So this actually pretty much where the front line actually is. And of course, this area here may not actually exist anymore. It might actually be Ukrainians in like this. So most likely this is gone. So most likely this is gone. So further up north, there is fighting reported at Makiivka on the 24th. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, the last attack was on the 19th. So there was a 5-day rest for the Russians. I'm not sure if they will push this. I'm not sure if they will push this in a very significant way. So let's wait and see. And then we move into the Svatova Front. So at the Svatova Front, the main fighting is actually around this area here. From Raihorodka, Nadia, Serhievka, and Novosilka region, this area here. The Ukrainians were attacking on the 23rd at Novosilka, and then they were attacking Serhievka on the 21st to 24th, Nadia on the 22nd. The Russians counterattack on the 21st, and then Nadia on the 21st to 24th. So the Ukrainians are pushing more in the south, the Russians pushing more in the north. And that's about it. No, kind of weird. Let's see how this goes. This fighting here looks to be quite fierce. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces just northeast of Berestove, showing Ukrainians are actually still holding the line along this highway, just near this highway region. And we go into the Kupyansk Front. So this is Kupyansk, and this is the Kupyansk Front. At the Kupyansk Front, the Russians are still doing their Kupyansk offensive in two directions, at Sinkivka and Ivanivka. However, the Ukrainians are very triggered, and they launch massive counterattack. At Sinkivka towards Vyshana, towards Przestrzelnewy and towards Orliansky and Ivanivsky. So it looks a lot more like a Ukrainian offensive now than a Russian offensive, given the amount of information that we are seeing. And the Ivanivska was the Ukrainians say that the Russians are attacking from the 21st to the 24th, whereas the Russians are also saying that the Ukrainians were attacking from the 22nd to the 24th. So basically, both are saying that they are defending. We shall see how this goes. And at Tinkovka, there's Ukrainian attack on the 24th, Zagoryukivka on the 24th, Przestrzelnewy on the 23rd, Vyshana on the 23rd. So you can see that the Ukrainians are actually making this heavy push in this area here, putting pressure on the Russians to actually reinforce this line over here. Sinkivka, we see the Russians being reported to have attacked on the 21st, 22nd to the 24th. Ukrainians were counter-attacking also around the same time, 21st to 24th. So basically, it reached a point where we may not even know who is exactly doing the offensive right now. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces just off Liman Pershi. And this is interesting because it was a Ukrainian soldier launching a grenade, RPG against the Russian tank, which shows that the Russians may actually have retaken this area here, because yeah, they can't really fire that far away. So and there is further geolocations just off Orliansky, Ukrainian position at this area here. So it does create a clearer line of where the front line is. Further south, we have Russians geolocated just off Ivanivka. So this actually shows the Russians definitely is just off Ivanivka, but not sure if they actually hold Ivanivka, or is it the Ukrainians actually holding Ivanivka. We shall continue to wait and see what's the situation, but most likely the Ivanivka is under Ukrainian control. So that's all from the Kupyansk Front, and that's it for the SITREP and all the summary for the day of 605 to 608 for the 21st to the 24th of October. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next update.